everyone, welcome back to Tea and Lit. I have another tag video for you. I'm surrounded by books. I need to get them situated because I'm basically sitting on them. Alrighty, today's tag is going to be the Classics book tag. I'm really excited to do this. Let's go, y'all. Question number 1. Overhyped classic you didn't like. Obviously, if you've been watching this channel, you know what it is. Sense and Sensibility. I hated it. By Jane Austen. I basically did a rant video about how useless this book was, how tedious the characters were, how not enjoyable it was. Other than the writing, because obviously Jane Austen is in the Victorian time period and they knew English. So, did not enjoy this book. However, I read several comments in that video, and I have heard before, Sense and Sensibility is not her best work, so I will be catching some more Jane Austen at some point in the future, I'm sure. Question number 2, favorite time period to read about. I love reading about ancient times, like the early Celts, the early Britons. That's a time period that I really enjoy reading about. Also ancient Rome and ancient Greece. But my favorite time period to read in is Victorian, obviously, in case you couldn't tell. So that's my views on that. I also love like the early Middle Ages, like the Viking era. I think that's a lot of fun to read in that time period. So yeah. And also the Middle Ages, the whole of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. I'm being ridiculous. Okay, I would say my favorite time period to read about is probably ancient times. And my favorite time period to read in is the Vikings, like authors from that time. The Vikings? The Victorians. Silly girl. Okay, favorite fairy tale is Peter Pan. I loved this, the Disney movie as a kid, and then when I grew up and I read it, I was like, what a fun twist on this. And it was one of those first times that I realized how Disney puts, like, very pixie dust like sprinkles on these really very dark, scary stories. And Peter Pan was by J.M. Barrie was the first book that I realized that Disney does that. And it's still, in all contexts, it's still a favorite story of mine. Most embarrassing classic you haven't read. This actually is super embarrassing, especially considering the movie is coming out soon, and that is Dune. I do love sci-fi, and I don't know why I have not read Dune yet I have no idea why I haven't read Dune yet. So I don't have Dune on my bookshelf, and I'm hoping that someday I will catch Dune. I'm filming this in October, and I have a very busy reading month in October. I have a pretty busy reading month in November, but I may be able to get to it in November. There's a lot of books, but it feels like a lot of books, but they're not long books, so I may get to Dune in November. Let me know if you guys want to read Dune together. Let me know if that's something you want to do, or if you would like a reading vlog, or if you'd like a reading and movie vlog. That would be fun. Next up are the top 5 classics you'd like to read soon. Number 1 is Hamlet. A dear friend of mine, hello Noah, he will be reading Hamlet for school soon, and I told him to let me know when he does, and then I will read it with him at the same time. This is a great story. Oh, by William Shakespeare, in case that's not obvious. The Divine Comedy by Dante. I have talked about this in the past. I read the Confessions of St. Augustine a few years ago, last year, 2 years ago? 2 years ago for Lent, and I had committed myself to reading the Divine Comedy after that, so this Lent, this will be my read. So there's that. Next up is Wuthering Heights, which is another Victorian novel by Emily Bronte. I don't know much about this, but there's a YouTuber I watch who read a little bit of it, and it was just so magnificent and beautiful, and I want to read this and see what all the hullabaloo is about. The Bronte sisters were very prolific authors at the time, and I look forward to reading this. Next up is the story of King Arthur and his knights. Keith and I are trying to figure out a time when we'll read this together for like a read. And I'm thinking March, but I'm not sure. I hope so, because I am really excited to get to this story. It is a lovely story. It's got kings and knights, and it has England. Well, Wales, actually. I think it's Wales. But it's like totally a book that's up my alley. And a bit of magic. I just love that. So this is a great one that I'm looking forward to reading. And then the last one is Little Women. I have not watched the movie that has just come out. Just come out like a year ago. The most recent movie rendition of Little Women with Saoirse Ronan and Emma Watson and Meryl Streep. And so what I would very much like to do is to reread the book and then watch the movie. That's something that I would like to do sometime this year. Your favorite modern books based on a classic. So this book might be cheating a little bit, but that is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I just loved this book in 2019, and it is a fairy tale retelling of The Beauty and the Beast. The series is. And I love the twist that she had in that retelling, because you read the first one and you have one idea, and then you get to the second one and you have another idea, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Thoroughly enjoyed our main male character in this book. And yeah, that's my views on that. Next up, worst classic movie. Oh, no. Number 7 is favorite movies and TV shows based on a classic. And that is The Lion King. Again, a Disney movie. I can't get enough Disney. But that's sort of loosely based on Hamlet. And it's beautiful. I love The Lion King generally. And then again, just like with Peter Pan, reading it when I got a little bit older, reading the original story, made me appreciate the movie that much more. Next up is the worst movie to TV show or TV show classic adaptation, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have no idea why they made it 3 movies. I have no idea why they threw Legolas in. I have no idea why they made Thranduil in there, although it was beautiful. I really did not enjoy the Hobbit series watching it. I remember sitting through all 3 movies. I think we went to the theaters for all 3 movies because I absolutely loved the Lord of the Rings movies. Being really disappointed that I had spent all that money on tickets and popcorn to just, watch 60 FPS of New Zealand. It wasn't enough for me. But the book was fabulous. Absolutely loved the book. Will read the book over and over again for the rest of my life because it was that good. Favorite editions you'd like to collect. So my used bookstore, I will try to insert a clip if I remember to, has these beautiful, absolutely beautiful leather-bound books. They have the gold embossing on them. They've got gold pages. They've got these beautiful gold ribbons, and they're $50 a pop minimum. They are absolutely gorgeous books, but I cannot bring myself to spend an entire season's worth of bookstore budget on a single book, no matter how gorgeous it is. I would just I have a dream of owning a cottage in the woods and having a big, beautiful bookshelf full of all of those big, beautiful, brown, leather-bound books. How's that for an alliteration for you? That's what I would like. That is a dream. It is just so phenomenal. And I think that they're the sorts of books that need to be snuggled because they are just so gorgeous. The last question is underhyped classic you'd recommend, and that is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I wish everyone would read The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, especially if you are a person of faith or if you have questions about faith, particularly, the fight of good and evil. The Screwtape Letters was a life-changing book. I read it in 2017, 2018. It was my favorite book of that year. It totally changed my view on evil. And it's been a very formative book. Absolutely, positively, no doubt about it. Everyone should read The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is like 6 books in one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books in one. So it's actually pretty short. The Screwtape Letters is not long. Do you hear my dad? Let's see what he's talking about. He's talking about animals. Dad's been watching a lot of elephant videos lately because elephants are the coolest of all animals. Followed very closely by dogs. Followed very closely by turtles, followed very closely by sea otters. In case you were wondering, like the tier ranking of top animals, elephants, dogs, turtles, otters. You're welcome. Bye!